delighted to say Dame Arlene joins me now. So, Arlene, what made you decide to formally endorse Liz Truss to be the next Prime Minister?
Well, good evening, Dan. It's lovely to be with you this evening and to listen to your superstar panel and all that's going on. Well, really, I was listening carefully to both of the candidates, all of the candidates, actually, until they were whittled down to two. Listening, of course, from my perspective as to how they were talking about the Union, of course, in respect of Northern Ireland, how they were going to deal with the iniquitous protocol which we have to deal with, which causes checks on goods coming from Great Britain into Northern Ireland and reducing our choice, increasing our costs. How was that going to be dealt with? And I was alarmed that last October, you may remember, there were reports that Rishi Sunak was one of the people who stopped David Frost from triggering Article 16 to deal with that issue. And so I've been listening carefully to what they've had to say. The fact that Liz has taken on the union debate, has said that she is very much a child of the union, that she feels very strongly that the union has to exist for us all to gain benefits from it. I think she has very much shown that she has an emotional attachment to the union, but also realises the benefits of the union. And I just don't see that with Rishi Sunak.
No, very good point. Arlene, she also has a bit of a different approach to dealing with Sturgeon than, say, Boris Johnson. I want you to watch this and I'll get your reaction off the back.
The best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. I think I'm sorry, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is.
I love that, I have to say, Arlene, because I think Boris Johnson has always treated Sturgeon with kid gloves, hoping that the respectful approach will work, but it hasn't really worked. So did you approve of Truss taking this, I guess, more forthright approach?
Well, I think what we need to do is to be more confident about the union and why the union is relevant to people in their everyday lives. We haven't been doing that, I don't think, really right across the UK, explaining why Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England are much better together, as we have been in terms of Scotland since 1707 and in terms of Ireland and then Northern Ireland from 1801. It's so important that we do stay together for prosperity, for economic betterment, for our health of our children, for the education of our young people, prosperity. There are so many reasons why the UK will continue to be a success. We're one of the G7 nations, of course, fifth largest economy in the world. So why, in heaven's name, would you want to destroy all of that and to leave the United Kingdom? So I think we need to be modern, we need to be progressive, we need to be positive, and above all, we do need to be confident, and I think that's what we need to achieve.
Totally agree. And the problem is, Arlene, as well, if you really zoom in to Sturgeon's record in Scotland, because obviously the SNP have a long track record now of being in government, and it's a disaster, isn't it? I mean, you look at the state of the NHS in Scotland, you look at the drug deaths in Scotland, you look at the education system in Scotland.
Well, I think one of the most frustrating things about the record of nationalism and republicanism is that whenever there's a problem, they blame Westminster. They don't take any responsibility for what's happening in the jurisdiction in which they have control, in which they have devolved powers. And we've seen that in Scotland. We see it, unfortunately, in Northern Ireland from Sinn Féin as well. Instead of working together with Westminster to get actually the benefits that can roll from being part of the UK, they're fighting against whoever is the Prime Minister at that particular time. And unfortunately, we've seen that writ large with Boris Johnson over COVID. I have to say the way in which the UK rolled out COVID vaccinations is a very good example of why the union works and works very well. But pushing back on that, you've seen the way in which Nicola Sturgeon always wanted to do things differently in Scotland, not because it was better for the citizens of Scotland, just because she wanted to do something different.
Totally. I wanted to ask you about language as well, Arlene, because Truss's team say that rather than talking about Scottish independence, they're going to start talking about Scottish separatism. I actually think that's really important, to be honest. But do you think that's right?
No, I do think it's right, because let's face it, what the SNP and what Sinn Féin want to do in Northern Ireland is to destroy the Union. They want to destroy our way of life. They want to go off on a myth-making fairy tale in relation to an independent Scotland or a united Ireland, instead of dealing with the realities of the UK. I mean, who's going to pay your pensions if you leave the United Kingdom? Who's going to look after you in terms of your health and well-being and your education and your welfare if you leave the United Kingdom? So they need to be challenged in all of that, and that's why I've come together with others to form this Together UK Foundation. We're going to push back against some of the myths that are there, and also this argument that an independent Scotland or united Ireland is inevitable. They're not inevitable, and therefore we have to push back against that narrative, and that's certainly what I hope we can achieve.